record and say, hi everybody, Warwick Johnson, feeling pretty casual today on a Friday before a long weekend, here with another market update and a fantastic interview. Today we're interviewing Cameron Knox from Allume Energy, and they're a very, very interesting technology provider of a system called SolShare. We'll describe it in a bit more detail in a moment. But before we're doing that, I want to share with you some interesting market data. Let's chuck this up on the screen. And it's called Benchmark Your Solar Business. This is a service that we're just launched, and we are helping solar retailers understand where they sit in the market with regards to their size and volume and pricing, importantly, as well. So here we're running through a sample company. It's actually a space solar service on this dashboard here, and you can see what their market share is nationally and their volume, and how that breaks down by system segment, and how that breaks down by state and system segment as well. So this is a New South Wales-based business, active mostly in residential, but with some activity in commercial. And interestingly, their share of that market, of both residential and small commercial market, is equal, but they're not really targeting the 30 to 100 market. So I want you to, as you look through these charts, think, okay, where do I sit and how do I compare? This is based off STC data, by the way. And so you can see this company then, the distribution of system sizes is mostly some residential, and in fact they're over proportioned in the 5 kilowatt system range, and under proportioned compared to the rest of the market in the 6.6 kilowatt system range, but they do have some exceptionally high 8 to 10 kilowatt system range sizes. Here's where they rank nationally, and they're at just about 30th. And you can see the nearest competitors, so that helps you identify who you should be looking over your shoulder at, and who you should be looking at, the leaders in that market and what market share they have. And then we break that information down on a state basis. We break it down on a system size range as well. And so all of this is helping with understanding where they sit in the market and who they should be keeping an eye on, both for inspiration and for their competitive tension. Now, also on the screen here, you're now seeing how their market share has evolved. And so the trend of volume over the months versus the national tally. And you can see that though the country is growing, they're still contracting a little bit, and therefore their market share is declining over time. And you can break that down on a state-by-state basis, and also on a size range as well. So all that useful information to understand where we're going. Now we're using some other data to understand pricing. So this is comparing companies' prices in each state and each size range for their company versus the rest of the user base of PV Cell. We're not giving away any confidential information, everything's protected, but this helps understand where your system price is comparing to other companies, and therefore what you can potentially do to improve your profit margin. We then break that down as a distribution as well, so you can see not just the average, but how you sit across the space of all system prices, and even break it down by which panels you're using compared to everyone else who's using those panels. Again, you can look at distribution of system sizes and volume trends and trends in market share, etc. All useful information broken down by state and the size range, etc., to help you run your business. Now, I'm going to stop sharing there and introduce Cameron Knox. I met Cameron at Allume Energy recently. Cameron is the CEO and founder of Allume Energy. I'll get you to say g'day. Hi, Cameron.
Hi, Warwick. How are you going? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolute pleasure to have you here. Now, I saw a lot of course, new solar panels and new inverters, and they're interesting and evolutionary incremental kind of demonstrations of new products out there. But when I saw Allume's product, it was the one thing that I think really stood out at Allume Energy as being completely different, a completely new service. So can you describe briefly what it is that your product does, and tell us why it's a benefit to the market?
Sure. So essentially our product is designed to make solar easy and affordable to install on multi-tenanted buildings. So any building with one roof and multiple residents, units, or businesses that occupy underneath that roof. What it does is it directs the energy from a single solar system on the common roof of that building, any of the units in that building that want to be a part of it. Done all behind the meter, meaning there's relatively low regulatory overhead. You don't need to install an embedded network. And it makes it a flexible, affordable, and scalable way to unlock this brand new market for solar.
Yeah, now what I understood, of course, this market was still potentially addressable previously, but essentially you had to have an inverter per household or unit, and it could be that you're exporting power from your unit to your neighbour a couple of metres away, and therefore only getting the feed-in tariff. And it felt like a horrific waste of money when if only you could just go and say, if only I could send my energy sort of behind the meter way to my neighbour, then the financial benefits would be far, far greater, and geez, we can make a better sale and better use of this energy for everybody. Am I right? Is that what your product does?
That's spot on. Yeah, you pitched it better than myself. Yeah, that's exactly what it enables. I mean, the fact that you can share a single solar system among multiple people doesn't just allow them to get access when it was a challenge before, but also allows it to be really effective access. So we will send you the power when you're going to save the most money. So for example, Warwick, if we're neighbours in an apartment building and I go on holiday for the first 2 weeks of the month, the sole share would recognise I'm not using much energy and would withhold some of my solar allocation, might send more to you and other neighbours at that point in time. And then when I get back, it will start to send me more of my solar allocation. So I get it when I'm going to save the most money. Which is really important because in Australia, obviously, self-consumption of solar is king and makes it far more financially compelling. So we can get about a 35% uplift on the economics of the solar payback because you can get that dynamic sharing and actually effectively consume that solar behind the meter, which is obviously not possible in a standalone solar installation.
So fantastic. I'm glad somebody solved this. Why is it you that solved it? How did you get to bring this product to market?
Well, we didn't start here. Actually, I mean, we were founded in 2015 and we were really focused on, we had the same vision, but a very different product. And that vision was to extend solar to people who normally can't access it. At that point in time, we were working with Aboriginal communities in rural New South Wales. Doing what we called a community power purchase agreement. We'd raise finance for a land council, being the landlord in the community. We'd put solar on their roofs, these being standalone houses, and we'd facilitate for them to sell the energy that their tenants used from those panels to the tenants at less than retail electricity. So that allowed the tenants to save money for no upfront cost, but also allowed the landlords to generate income. But the challenge that we saw in that model and the challenge for scalability was that there's a lot of export risk. So if you have a single family in a single house, if they're not there or they're not using much power at that point in time, a lot of energy is going out to the grid. And we were finding even with a small system size, it was about 50% export in these projects. So we really wanted to look at what can we do with that export to maximize the financial return. We looked at batteries, they were a little too expensive and still are really. And then we looked at peer-to-peer sharing, but crossing the grid was a real challenge from a regulatory point of view to make that scalable. But then at the same time, we were working with social housing buildings down here in Melbourne, and they were all in apartments. And we saw that as another section of the population who were totally shut out of access to solar. But they had an opportunity with the infrastructure that they had to change that export risk that we had in those communities. And the way you could do that is have a single system, and if apartment A is not consuming the energy, maybe apartment B is, and you can send it to them, or apartment C or apartment D. And what you can do is smooth the consumption of that generation, effectively creating that kind of peer-to-peer outcome, but doing it all behind the meter. So we really conceptually thought that was a great idea and couldn't find anything to help us unlock that. So we started building our product.
Tell me, Cameron, like hardware is expensive. There comes a point where technology development can quickly burn a hole in your pockets. Did I say recently you got some investment from Merva?
Yes, we did. Yeah, as you say, hardware is expensive. There's a lot of upfront capital required to develop it and manufacture it. So yeah, we're lucky enough to have some support from some really great investors, Mervac being one of them, Artesian Clean Technology Fund here in Victoria as well. So that's enabled us to take that step and now release this product to the market and scale it from here.
I think, was it right that you got a project with them? And I might be wrong, but I think it was Gippsland Solar is doing some work for you on it. Is that right?
Yeah, so we're working with Gippsland Solar for a project in the Latrobe Valley, which is the world's largest shared solar rooftop, Australia's largest rooftop shared solar project, I should say. With Mirvac, we're doing a project in Doncaster, which will be the first greenfield apartment building to have solar installed. So yeah, we're really excited about that. That's going to be a big milestone for us.
And not limited to Australia, right?
No, yeah. So we've partnered with Sunrun, who are the US's largest solar provider. So we're doing our first project in California, funded by a group called the Elemental Accelerator, to install the solar share on low-income multifamily buildings in California, allowing them, the people who really need the savings the most, to get access to it. So we're really excited about that initial project and the subsequent deployments across the US in partnership with Sunrun. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sunrun's a major player in the US. Now, for solar retailers and installers, I believe that there's partnership opportunities with you guys, right? If somebody's interested.
Yeah, exactly. So we're looking for a small network of partners who are really committed to quality and new products and want to step out of the very intensely competitive solar world that we currently live in and unlock this kind of new market. So yeah, we're looking for an exclusive network of partners. We have several already across Australia, but looking to build that out. So if there's any solar installers out there or solar providers who are excited by new technology, committed to quality, have some technical background and looking into this market, then please reach out. Contact details on the website.
Yeah, we'll post some contact details below. What's the best email address to reach you
on? info@allumeenergy.com.au would be the best one. You can address it to Cameron or Jack. We get all the emails. So feel free to reach out.
Oh, look, well, fantastic. Thanks for sharing a bit about your technology. I'm certainly excited by it. And yes, I can see the potential for the solar retailers to not be competing just against a regular solar system. Potential to do something very interesting there. So, hey, thanks for sharing that with us. I wish you all the best in your growth as an Aussie company, and we'll be tracking it very closely.
Yeah, thanks so much.
And for anyone who's interested in some more information there, I will post a link to it at the bottom of this video feed. If you were interested in that market data, the benchmarking service, you can register your interest for that service. It's going to be very affordable, but also deliver a great value and potentially, just like the SolarShare product, allow you to potentially raise your prices above what Cutthroat might otherwise dictate they're at. So thanks again for joining us for this podcast. We'll be back again next month with some more market data and a fascinating new insight.